Xenoblade Chronicles is an incredibly important game for me. In a time in my life where I had fallen away from video games, Xenoblade reeled me back in. It slapped me in the face, waking me up to the power of video games with its mind-blowing storytelling, excellent gameplay, and endearing cast. For the first time in years, a video game felt special, like it was a part of me. No, not in the terms of skill. I'm not going to say I was a level 99 pro killing every super boss in the game by optimizing my gem crafting. I hate gem crafting. Rather, I had become so engrossed in the story and gameplay that it felt like I was a member of the party, exploring the Bionis. The moment when Ryan spiked Ricky into the ground, I set the ball. The moment when Charla reunited with her brother Juju, I shared in that hug. The moment Fiora stared at the night sky with Shulk, my heart skipped a beat. The moment when Adam Howden gave the greatest voice acting performance in video game history a mere couple of hours into the game, I cried. Alongside Twilight Princess, Xenoblade Chronicles is my favorite game of all time. But sweet Bionis does hit a remake. While I hold fond memories of the JRPG and believe the story, gameplay, and cast are some of the best ever created, the graphics have not aged well. It was arguably outdated when the game first released in 2010, let alone now. Just look at Gower Plains, the battle during the prologue, and Colony 9. Blocky, pale colors, and unfortunately, ugly. To be fair, the Wii was not known for being a graphical powerhouse, and Monolith Soft did fantastic work with the limited hardware. However, nearly 10 years later, Xenoblade has aged like leftover pizza. It's good the first few days, but after 2 weeks, it's probably time to buy a new one.
Wow, that was a great analogy. 10 points for the pizza.
Well, if it's so hard to look at, why did you play it? For the world setting you are in. Play the first 20 minutes of Xenoblade and tell me you are not at least intrigued with the scope and direction of Xenoblade. You can't. That's impossible.
I don't like it! Not scientifically possible!
The reason I could stomach the, quite frankly, awful textures was the world setting. Without spoiling too much, I have never been more captivated by the setting of a game than Xenoblade. Every time you enter a new area on the Bionis, you realize where you really are. The body of a titan. It was awe-inspiring. Even with the lousy graphics, environment shots were still breathtaking. Unlike the environment textures, I thought the character models were good enough. Not perfect, but acceptable. Since Xenoblade Chronicles 2's take on Shulk and Fiora, however, looking back on the original kind of hurt my eyes.
No, 2 is way too anime! At least 1 had a unique style!
Well, unique doesn't exactly mean best. I appreciate the character designs, but the art style just doesn't hold up in 2019. A masterpiece like Xenoblade Chronicles needed an HD remaster to better realize Monolith Soft's original vision. The Wii hardware wasn't good enough. That's why, for the past 2 years, I've been hoping for an HD remake. Not a port, but a built from the ground up HD remake for the Switch. However, despite how much I wished for it, I didn't think a remake would come for years down the line, if at all. But during their September 2019 Direct, Nintendo dropped the news that shook my world. No, not that. This. It's so beautiful. Look at the environments of the Bionis. The trees, the grass. It's all so amazing. I mean, just look at this shot. He's much more detailed and expressive, all thanks to the new art style. Sure, he's a little more boyish than manly, as I've heard some complain, but I do think this design change is for the better. As Shulk looks good too. But that dragonfly, woo! However, not everyone thought the reveals showed much of an upgrade.
Well, duh, it's exactly how I remember it.
Methinks you haven't played Xenoblade in a long time. How about some comparisons to shut you up? As seen in this Game Explained comparison video, there's no question this is a massive upgrade from the Wii. I remember a similar phenomena happened when Twilight Princess HD was revealed. When I first watched the trailer, I was stoked to have the game coming to Wii U, but also confused on why it looked pretty much the same. And then I saw comparison videos. There were details added in the HD version that my mind thought were already in the original. And I guess the same goes for Xenoblade Deluxe Edition for some. Although I'll be the first to admit the upgrade for Xenoblade is much more drastic than Twilight Princess. Going back to the Wii and Switch comparisons, Fiora's glow up is by far my favorite. This comparison is like night and day. It's like, I'm trying to think of a way to describe this tremendous difference without offending an entire demographic. Basically, original Fiora is the reason you should never date your cousin. There. Is that subtle enough for you? Pushing special Fiora aside, new Fiora just makes my heart sing. Her smug face could melt the polar ice caps faster than China and the US ever could. But it's not just her smile. Her eyes are brighter, her nose smaller, her hair fuller, her skin has more polygons. The battle for top Xenoblade waifu is reaching new levels of kawaii. You're my new best friend. Honestly, I've always been on Team Melia. Fiora was cute and all, but Melia was the entire package. Beautiful, kind, smart, caring of others, magic user, and she screamed her moves with so much passion. Burst! However, after witnessing Fiora make her smug girl debut, my Melia dedication is wavering. Show us her face, you cowards! In truth, I'm excited to see all the newly designed characters, not just the Whammon. Ryan already looks great based on the brief screenshot we have. He really excused Ryan time energy, although they nerfed his abs for some reason. Ricky probably won't change too much. They already perfected the Nopon look with Tora. As long as they don't go full on Tatsu, everything will be a-okay. Never go full on Tatsu. Ever. The new art design in general is leaps and bounds above the original, and so far, I think it's even better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like I mentioned before, 2 was a little more anime than what people wanted. However, the art style allowed for so much expression, making for a more emotional game, unlike X's frozen facial expressions. With Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, we are getting the best of both worlds in terms of art direction. Much more expression and color, less anime and gigantic eyes. Truly a perfection on the Monolith Soft style. But pretty graphics aren't the only reason to be hyped for the definitive version. The trailer seems to promise brand new content, or in this case, cut content. Long story short, the Bionis' shoulder was planned to be explorable and feature an entire new colony, but alas, it was scrapped. Supposedly, it would have been the biggest area in the game, which is no small feat in Xenoblade. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, it was cut. Thankfully, we'll have the opportunity to explore that area on the Switch. But what does that mean for the pacing of the game? As you travel to each area, the average levels of the monsters increase, thus helping you get stronger as you explore. Does adding the shoulder change that? Are there new monsters and super bosses to be found? Does the shoulder have story implications? Also, these look like new outfits for Shulk and Melia. Do you find this armor on the shoulder? And why does the Monado look different? Is that a new design? Feel free to prove me wrong, without spoiling anything for the first timers. What I'm trying to say is, you can't just add an area to a masterpiece and expect everything to work perfectly. You have to consider pacing, story beats, items to find, monsters and quests, all without hindering the original masterpiece. That said, this is Monolith Soft we're talking about. I have no doubt they will do a phenomenal job adding the new area. Seeing the return of the shoulder makes me wonder what other new features could be coming to the Definitive Edition. Sure, there's a jukebox from the new 3DS version, but what other secrets do they have in store? More secret bosses, new story elements, new characters, new weapons. Maybe we'll finally understand what Shulk is really feeling. Talk to us, Shulk. We want to help you. What's hurting you? What are you really feeling? Or will they call it a day after adding the shoulder? Whatever the case, I'm sure Monolith Soft will do an excellent job of recreating, remastering, and reinvigorating their masterpiece for the Switch. After all, 2020 will be Xenoblade Chronicles' 10-year anniversary, at least in Japan. What better way to celebrate Monolith Soft's flagship masterpiece than with a beefed-up, perfected Definitive Edition? Xenoblade Calendar, Swimsuit Edition.
Money, 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 money!
Oh, yeah! Of course, for many, many Switch owners, this will be their first time exploring the Bionis and encountering these characters, besides maybe Naked Shulk and Smash. They have no idea about or even man, you're in for one wild ride, and I am so jealous. If you already know all there is to know about Xenoblade Chronicles, please refrain from talking about it in detail, including in the comment section, until the game comes out. Treat the definitive edition as the first version of the game. Treat it as though you received a review copy for Xenoblade and are under an imaginary review embargo. Let others enjoy this masterpiece as blind as possible. It doesn't matter if it's been 10 years since the initial release. I don't want to take away from new players the magic and awe I felt during my first playthrough. I've avoided using spoilers as much as possible in this video, and I hope we all try to remain considerate of others.
Yeah, your video had tons of spoilers.
That's subjective and you know it. There's just no pleasing anybody. I know it's not the end of the world if you hear about but it's very important to me. If there is one game that should never be spoiled, I believe it is Xenoblade Chronicles. Hopefully come 2020, we'll all be playing what is, in my opinion, the greatest JRPG ever made. Or at least many more people will understand why it is a beloved game. You're my new waifu now. Thank you so much for watching. Are you excited for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition? What are you most excited to see? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for more like this. I promise there will be more Xenoblade videos in the future, as well as Fire Emblem, Zelda, and a whole lot more. And my voice doesn't usually sound like this. I'm getting over a cold, I'm still a little stuffed up, so please forgive me for sounding nasally. And with that, goodbye, you good people!